So Prime Minister Narendra Modi has landed in Poland. He left earlier today and he's of course in Poland to meet with the senior leadership of the country, including Donald Tusk, the country's Prime Minister, and Andrzej Duda, who is the president of Poland. This is of course a remarkably important visit to a country that we don't talk about too much in India. But if you've been wondering about why the Prime Minister is headed there in the first place, we've got you covered. But so let's just start with the basics. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just landed. We've got the visuals for you as well of Modi landing in Poland. He left earlier today. He's gotten there now, expected to meet with the Indian community today in the country. Of course, there's a very large Indian community numbering over 20,000. So let's just, without further ado, talk to you a little bit about why Poland matters. Remember that Poland is, first of all, on the economic side, one of Europe's fastest growing and most resilient economies. Over the last couple of decades, it's really picked up in terms of economic growth, in terms of its importance to the economies of Central Europe. Really, it's been seen as an economic outperformer, an economic superstar in the last couple of decades. And unfortunately, though, Central Europe and Eastern Europe are two parts of the world where India does not have the kind of economic footprint it should have. And one of the things that you always see when the Indian Prime Minister goes abroad is a big focus on the economy. So what we know for a fact, based on what the Ministry of External Affairs has told everyone, is that the economy, trade and investment are going to be huge focuses of this visit. You're obviously going to need you're going to talk about investments across sectors, especially in the defense sector. And that, I think, brings us from economy and trade to the second bit of why this visit is important, which is defense. Poland, of course, is in many ways a frontline state. It is really at the front lines of this conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and it has been leading the European continent in terms of pushing for a stronger defense policy. It's made some very high-profile defense purchases, received a lot of support from America and America's allies from around the world. And the idea is, look, Poland is interested in pushing Europe towards a harder defense ecosystem. They want to make major acquisitions of defense equipment. Is there a role for Indian defense exports or perhaps defense technology collaborations between India and Poland? So that is absolutely going to be a major focus. So we talked about the economy, we've talked about trade, we've talked about, of course, the 25,000 a strong Indian diaspora and billions of dollars in trade, but really defense is something that we're expecting to see become a major issue in this visit. I was in Brussels just a little while back, and everywhere you went in Brussels, people were talking about Poland as the country that was pushing Europe towards a harder and stronger defense ecosystem, and for Europe to sort of wake up to the threat from Russia and take on more defense responsibilities. So this is absolutely going to be something that you want to watch on the defense side. Something that's going to be very important is, of course, the war in Ukraine. Remember that that for a country like Poland, India's stance on the Ukraine war, its so far neutral and balanced position, has been something that it would like to discuss with India. Poland has been 100% with Ukraine. It has been very critical of Russia's invasion, especially because, of course, as a borderline state, its own sovereignty is at risk because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So that's absolutely going to be a topic of discussion, and frankly, it's going to be something that the Indian side will be prepared for. Remember that Prime Minister Modi is headed to Ukraine after he finishes his time in Poland. It's going to be absolutely essential that the two sides discuss what is going on in Ukraine. India will try to make its position clear as well. But one of the big things on this visit that the Prime Minister will need to do is to show a lot of empathy and solidarity and statesman-like conduct when he goes to see Poland, and when he goes to see the Polish leadership as well as the Ukrainian leadership. Again, just so that I can lay this out for you, just last month we had Prime Minister Narendra Modi go to Moscow to meet President Vladimir Putin. It was not a visit that was well received. Of course, no visit of an Indian leader, especially in times like this, is going to be well received in the Western world. But the point was that, unfortunately, the optics of the visit were not the best for Prime Minister Modi in the Western world, primarily because his visit coincided with the NATO summit, which was happening in Washington. Also, at the same time, Russia bombed a children's hospital in Ukraine, killed around 31 people. In fact, Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, who has celebrity status in the Western world, actually quite directly targeted Prime Minister Narendra Modi for visiting Russia and indulging in some hug diplomacy if you will, with the Russian president. So absolutely, this was something that, to be frank, was something that was seen as a PR disaster for the Indian Prime Minister. And of course, now the speculation in the strategic community, although the Ministry of External Affairs always loves to deny it, is that this visit to Poland and Ukraine is sort of India balancing that position, trying to change the narrative about its position in Ukraine. Of course, India doesn't want to be seen as leaning too closely towards Russia, which may have been an unfortunate consequence of the July visit in terms of the July visit to Moscow. So that is going to be very important. So we've talked about the economy and trade. We've talked about defense. We've also talked about Ukraine and how the Prime Minister, by showing empathy, statesman-like conduct, and really an understanding of Ukraine and Poland's perspective on these issues, will be able to turn the narrative away from what happened with July, with his visit to Moscow, and turn it to something where India and Prime Minister Narendra Modi are seen as empathetic and receptive to the concerns of Eastern European countries. So it's a good opportunity for the Prime Minister, and we of course hope that he will prove up to the task. Of course, there's also another important issue, is India's broader engagement with Europe. There was a brilliant statistic that was put up by the inimitable C. Rajamohan in an op-ed recently, where he talked about how both Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made almost 30 trips to Europe in his 2 terms as Prime Minister so far. Foreign Minister Jaishankar has made almost 30 trips as well in the 5 years that he's been Foreign Minister. This shows that Europe is an absolutely critical area of the world for India to be focusing on. It has become, because of its access to technology and its high standard of living, as well as, of course, its wealth, trade, technology cooperation, etc., with Europe has become absolutely essential for India, and that shows the focus that the Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Jaishankar have placed on this part of the world. But unfortunately, you don't see Central and Eastern Europe get as much attention as other countries, especially in Western Europe. So what you're going to see, especially in this visit, is that much needed focus by an Indian Prime Minister on very important countries in Central and Eastern Europe. Remember that no Indian Prime Minister has been to Poland in the last 4 decades, and of course no Prime Minister has been to Ukraine since it became an independent country in the 1990s. So that's some of the background as to what Prime Minister Modi wants to achieve. We talked about defense, we talked about trade, we talked about the Ukraine war, we've also talked about this broader strategic focus on Central and Eastern Europe. But now what we've also got for you, just to close off, is what I talked about a little bit earlier, which is this idea of 25,000 Indians forming the diaspora in Poland. They were there to visit, they were there to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he landed in the country. And of course, they're an essential part of India's outreach to Poland. We've got the bites just from a couple of we've got the voices of a couple of Indians who were waiting to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and we'll just play them for you right now.
एक प्राउड फील हो रहा है कि इतने सालों के बाद कोई किसी ने पोलैंड की ओर देखा और यहाँ पर हम लोगों के इंडियन लोगों की आवाज़ सुनने के लिए आए. सो ये मूवमेंट देख के बहुत प्राउड हो रहा है.
मोदी भाई આવ્યા છે ધૂમ ધડાકા લાવ્યા છે મોદી ભાઈ આવ્યા છે ધૂમ ધડાકા લાવ્યા છે.
एक प्राउड
We are really happy and excited because in a decade this is first time we see our Prime Minister coming here. So Bharat Mata ki jai. We are really
I'm very much excited कि वो यहाँ पे आ रहे हैं. For most of the people who are living for more than 30-35 years, like for them, this is a historic moment. But for us, we are privileged that after 2 years we got this chance to meet him, to greet him, and to welcome him over here. I'm very much.
I'm really excited for him to come. I've never seen him, so this is my first time, and this is a welcome for Prime Minister, for our Prime Minister.
You have a slogan there.
Yes, my India, my pride.
I just want to say, first of all, I think the mood here in Warsaw is absolutely ecstatic, and we're all thrilled to welcome our Prime Minister. Modi ji is a great source of inspiration for all of us, not only Indians domestically, but also worldwide. And I think he's done perhaps the most out of all our Prime Ministers to advance the interests of Indians worldwide. So I just want to say Modi ji, you're a huge source of inspiration, and a great thank you.
Right, so that's it from us at India Today Global. I hope we've been able to lay out for you a little bit as to why this visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Poland matters, what the key issues are likely to be. He's going to meet Donald Tusk, the Prime Minister of Poland, as well as President Andrzej Duda. meet the Indian community as well, pay respects to some of the historical aspects of the India-Poland relationship as well, which hopefully we'll get in for you in just a little while. We of course have Gaurav Sawant, our senior editor, who's on the ground covering Prime Minister Modi's visit, and of course we've got Geeta Mohan and myself here in the studio in Delhi just to walk you through what is happening in this visit. But thank you so much again for watching India Today Global as we cover Prime Minister